So giving your Beardie a bath, it's less about getting them covered with soap and stuff. It's more just kind of gently scrubbing their skin. For that, I use just a regular face cloth. And a lot of times what I've seen actually is people use a toothbrush. Just think of it as kind of like a mild bath brush for your bearded dragon. So you probably want to get one that's got very soft bristles like this one, which was given to us by her previous owner. It has nice soft bristles on it. And it's actually a really nice bath brush, especially for when your bearded dragon is shedding. This will help to remove skin gently off your dragon in the tub rather than peeling it or having them peel it themselves, which is how Lenny injured her eyes. Her eyes were perfectly healthy before, but she injured them trying to remove shed from her eyes, and so now she doesn't see as well because of it. So we want to do whatever we can to help our bearded dragon to shed, and also this just gets into maybe some of the nooks and crannies a little better than something like a face cloth. In case she's crawled around in her poop in her tank or something like that, this helps to get those areas cleaned off so that she doesn't get infected by anything. So we're going to do that today. Alright, so we're back at our tub here. We're getting ready to give our bearded dragon a bath. Again, I use a tub simply because it's more convenient for me, and it also seems to put our dragon at ease. You can use a sink, you can use a big bowl or something, depending on the size of your dragon, whatever works for you. But here we are, we're going to fill up the tub. I'm not going to fill up a lot. They tell you normally you only really need water to come up to like your first knuckle, but it is a big tub. And I actually use the grade of the tub to my advantage. There's times where I want Lenny in less water and times where I want her in more to let her soak properly. So we're going to fill up the tub some first. Right. Not sure if you can see the water there, but you can see that our underlayment has risen up just a little bit, not a lot. I'm going to throw these things in there to get them wet, and then we're going to go get our bearded dragon and place her in the water. She is. I had to go find her. She went to hide for a little bit, had her running around the living room, and she left a little bit of a mess for me to clean up, but otherwise she's doing fine here. Most important thing when you're bathing a bearded dragon is it's not like with humans. She doesn't soak up a lot of moisture through her skin. She can drink the water. Some bearded dragons do, but she has only done that once ever. I try to stay away from her eyes with the water as much as I can, simply because her eyes are a little more sensitive. Most important thing with a bearded dragon is their vent. So Lenny, she's not going to be able to take flipping here too much, but she has a vent underneath here, right under her tail. And that's where she actually is going to take in most of her water. That's the most important part of her to soak, is kind of her back end here. So what we're going to do is place her in the water gently, and I'm just going to kind of leave my hand under the front of her just to kind of reassure her that I'm not just leaving her in the water, and then just run some water over her back. So I'm just got her kind of used to being in the water. So here we go. The water is somewhat warm. I would call it baby bath temp if you're used to that. You don't want it to be too hot to your dragon. As much as they like hot temperatures, the heat can still be a shock. You can see here she's just kind of getting acclimated a bit to the water. I'm going to take my washcloth here, just let the water run over her a bit, let her get used to the temperature a bit. Most important thing is you don't want the water level to really go above the opening of her mouth. Most bearded dragons will prop themselves up in the water when they're alert. For the most part, Lenny does not. So what I'll do sometimes is when I want to lay her down completely, I'll actually drag the mat up to the front here some. That way I know that her mouth is not going to go below the water level, and I can just run the water over her. You can see her breathe a little bit more because she's just getting used to being in here, and that's fine. I'm just going to let the water run down kind of the front of her face. A bearded dragon in the wild, that's how they would actually drink their water for the most part, is the morning dew that collects on their head and runs down their nose. They would lick that water up. In general, in the wild, a bearded dragon's not going to take a bath. But on occasion, when they do have little puddles, they will soak. So that's really what you're going for here, is this section of her body, getting that to soak really well here. So we're going to want to let her soak for a few minutes. Then I'm just going to take our brush, our bath brush, and lift her up gently, kind of scrub underneath here, because she has been crawling around the tank that's had other stuff in it at this point, and we want to try to loosen that stuff off of her, let that get her claws here too, just in case there's anything caught up in there. Now you can kind of gently scrub under their beards and their bellies. You want to be particularly careful around the vent area here. It is sensitive. That's where pretty much everything comes out of her body comes, whether it's excrement or when she's laying eggs for females. So that's a very sensitive area of their bodies. I'm just going to scrub her back some. You know, just in loose skin, this is great to help remove their loose skin, especially once it's soaked for a few minutes. Scrub the back of her tail, because her tail will inevitably drag through whatever she leaves in the tank, so you want to get that cleaned off some. And so, like I said, some dragons will swim around in the water. They really like it. Others are kind of averse to it. Lenny tends to be averse to it, so what I'm actually going to do is fold up her face cloth some and give her a little bit of a perch. And we're going to put her on the perch. That way she feels a little more comfortable. And we're going to push her back end into the deeper water so that can really soak. And for the most part, she will stay there for a few minutes. Just run some water over her. We'll let her soak and just kind of bask in the bathing glory, as it were. I would normally go finish out cleaning her tank here at this time and just let her soak for a bit. And we'll resume the video with drying off our dragon and putting her tank back together. Alright, so our bearded dragon's been bathing for a few minutes. You can see that she's been ever so active in the tub here. She's just kind of accepting her moment here that this is where she's going to be for a few minutes and has not moved an inch. But she's been in there for a bit. We've allowed her to soak. We're going to just run just a little quick rinse over her very gently. And then we're going to drain the tub. So I'm going to bring her forward a bit here. Drain the tub. Take her implements out to let the air dry. You're going to find that these mats here are kind of like the old ShamWows. They tend to hold on to a lot of water, so I tend to let it drip off in the tub some, and you're going to have to keep flipping it over the course of a couple hours to try to get at least one end of it dried out so that you can hang it over the edge of the tub to let it all air out some. So just keep that in mind. However you rinse off these underlayments, they're going to take some time to air out and dry. You want to give them at least overnight to dry out. That's something to do earlier in the day generally with your dragon. Let's put Lenny on a towel here as she's dripping wet. I'm not very happy about it. So we'll get her on a towel. We are going to transfer her. I will show you the eye care that we have to do for her. Our veterinarian gave us some artificial tears to put on her eyes. I'll show you really quickly how to do that. Let me just try to get some of the water off of her. You know, she's like a baby at this point. You know, just going to dry her off some because she does not like being all wet like this. And we'll resume with a little bit of eye care to end the video.